Let me ask you a question. If you wanted to get better at golf, what would you practice? Would you go to the driving range? Would you hit your driver? Would you work on your swing? Would you try to hit the ball farther? Maybe you'd work on your irons. Maybe you'd take a lesson. Maybe you'd spend an hour trying to fix your slice. And again, there's nothing wrong with any of that, like we talked about last time. But let me ask you something else. How much time are you spending putting? Because if you're a beginner golfer or trying to get better, there's a really good chance that putting isn't the most exciting part of your practice. You want to hit the ball, you want to see it fly, you want to hit that perfect drive, you want to flush an iron, you want to watch the ball disappear into the distance. Putting doesn't feel like that. You're standing there looking at a little white ball trying to hit it 15 feet, and yet that little white ball can have a massive impact on your score. Because here's something I want you to start thinking about. You don't have to become an incredible putter to become a better putter. You don't have to start making every 10-footer. You don't have to hole every putt inside 6 feet, and you definitely don't need to spend hours trying to build the perfect putting stroke. As a beginner or somebody who's learning, you need something much simpler. You need to learn how to start the ball online, control the distance, avoid 3-putts, and make the short putts you should be making. And if you can do those things, you're going to start seeing something really interesting happen. You're going to start shooting lower scores without changing your swing or your putting stroke. And that's what this video is all about, because putting isn't just about making putts. Putting is about finishing the hole. The part of golf that everyone wants to skip. When you're new to golf, I think it's completely natural to focus on the big stuff, the driver, the irons, the swing, ball flight, distance. You're standing on the range and you hit a great 7-iron and you think, okay, now I'm getting somewhere. You hit a driver 20 yards farther and it feels like progress. You hit one straight down the middle and you're excited. But then you get onto the golf course and eventually you get to the green and suddenly the game changes. Now you're not trying to hit that ball 150 yards. You're trying to hit it 15 feet. And this is where a lot of beginners struggle because putting looks easy. But easy looking doesn't mean easy. You're dealing with distance, direction, green slope, speed, pressure, and your own expectations. And now you're standing over a 6-foot putt thinking, I should make this. Then you miss. Then you miss another. Then you leave one 6 feet short. Then you hit one 8 feet past. And suddenly you've taken 3 or 4 putts to get it in the hole. And you walk off the green thinking, I can't putt. But I don't want you to think that way, because putting isn't some magical skill that you're either born with or you're not. There's a few simple skills you can learn, and those skills can make putting much easier. Putting isn't about making every putt. Here's one of the biggest mindset shifts I want you to make. Stop measuring your putting only by whether the ball goes in the hole, because that's not really fair. Think about it. You hit a 30-foot putt. You hit it to 4 feet. That's a pretty good putt, but the ball didn't go in. Did you fail? No. You hit a good putt. Now imagine you have a 6-foot putt. You hit it 3 feet past the hole. Technically, you didn't make it, but that's a much different outcome. And that's why I want you to start thinking about putting in terms of distance control and next shot difficulty. That's the same philosophy we talked about in the short game video. These two pieces are really one. Your job isn't always to hit the perfect shot. Your job is to make your next shot easier. That's golf, and putting is no different. A good putt doesn't always go in. A good putt gives itself a chance and leaves you in a manageable position. The first secret, distance control. If you're a beginner or you're trying to get better, I would argue that one of the most important putting skills you can develop is distance control, not the perfect stroke, not some complicated grip, not whether your putter face is perfectly square to the target at every millisecond. Distance control. Because think about what happens when you don't control distance. You hit a putt 20 feet and it finishes 8 feet past. Now you have another putt. You miss that one, and now you have another. Suddenly one putt turned into 3, and that's where the 3-putt starts. But if you hit the same first putt and leave yourself 2 or 3 feet, your next shot becomes much easier. So when you're practicing, don't think, did I make it? Ask, did I hit it the right distance? That's a completely different question. And it's one that beginners can start answering immediately. Now, something that I do with putting, I call it putter gapping. People can laugh at that, but it's basically like the ladder drill. I start from 5 feet, then go to 10, then 15, then 20. And the way that I do it is I'll set up with a yardstick next to the ball. I'll know that a 5-foot putt, I need to bring my putter back and through about 2.5 to 3 inches. I'll get those feels down for 5, then move to 10, 15, 20, and you can keep going. What I do with that is when I get to a course, I step on the practice green every single time. Doesn't matter if I've played the course a million times, every day the greens are a little bit different. And I'll set up with a tee where the ball is and tees at 5, 10, 15 feet. I'll hit my stock 5-foot shot. If the ball doesn't get to it, that means the greens are slow. That means I need to go back and through a little bit more. My putting stroke is always the same speed. Then, once I get that locked in, I'll go to 10. If I roll past it, I know that the greens are fast. That means I have to shorten the stroke. That's all I do. I increase and decrease the length of my stroke based on what the greens are doing that day. And that has significantly helped me. Now, I'll also go and just test out speeds different ways. I'll do this same thing on the side of a slope, going uphill, downhill. It really depends how much time I have. I'm big with warming up before a round. And this is something I think can help you. There's more videos on it. If you want them, comment down below and we'll make sure to link it to you. Stop trying to hit the perfect putt. Here's another mistake. You stand over the putt, you look at the hole, and you think, I need to make this. That's a lot of pressure. Instead, I want you to change the goal. Your goal is start the ball on your intended line and give it the right speed. That's it. You're not trying to force the ball into the hole. You're trying to give the ball the best opportunity to go in. That sounds like a small difference, but it can completely change how you approach putting. Because now you're focused on something you can actually control. You can't control whether the ball hits the edge of the cup and stays out. You can't control any tiny imperfections in the green. You can't control every break, but you can control your setup, your stroke, your starting direction, and your speed. That's where your attention belongs. The second secret, read the green simply. Now let's talk about reading greens. And if you're a beginner, I don't want you standing over a putt thinking you're supposed to become a professional green reader overnight. You don't need to. You need to start noticing a few basic things. First, which way does the green slope? Where's the high side? Where's the low side? Then ask, what is this putt likely to do as it slows down? Because that's important. A putt that starts straight doesn't necessarily stay straight. As the ball slows down, the slope can influence it more. So instead of only looking at the hole, look at the entire path. And here's a simple habit. Walk around the putt. Don't just stand behind the ball and stare at the hole. Look from the side, look from the other side, look from behind. Pay attention to the surrounding green. You don't need to overcomplicate it. I'm not saying to do aim point because I don't like that. You're simply gathering information, and that's what good golfers do. They don't guess, they observe. Pick a starting line. Now we've got to connect the green read to the actual putt. Let's say the hole is right here in front of us, but the putt breaks from right to left. If you aim directly at the hole, you may not actually be aiming at the correct starting point. So I want you to start thinking, where does the ball need to start, not where do I want it to finish? That's a subtle but important distinction. Your target isn't always the hole. Your target can be a point somewhere else on the green. It could even be 5 feet away from you. And then you allow the slope to move the ball towards the hole. This is one of those things that makes putting fascinating. You're not simply pointing the ball at the cup. You're choosing a starting line and then controlling the speed. Again, you don't need to be perfect. You're learning to see the green. The third secret, start the ball on line. Now here's where putting technique actually becomes important. You don't need a complicated stroke, but you do need to give yourself a chance. And one of the biggest things that matters is where the ball starts. Think about it. You can read the green perfectly. You can choose the perfect break. You can pick the perfect speed, but if the ball starts 5 feet away from where you intended, none of that matters. So when you're practicing, start paying attention to your starting direction. Here's a really simple drill. Find a straight putt. It doesn't have to be long, 3 or 4 foot's fine. Put a tee gate just wider than your putter head, or create a simple starting gate for the ball. Your goal is not necessarily to make the putt. Your goal is to start the ball through the gate. Again, we're training the skill. We're not just chasing mistakes. And this is an important theme for the entire series. Practice the skill you're actually trying to improve. Now, if you want to check out some training aids, I've got them linked down below. It's part of our Amazon store, amazon.com/shop/golf-reboot. You can go there, see the things we use. There's tons of putting stuff out there. The 4-foot putt is a skill. Now let's talk about something that can dramatically change your confidence. Short putts, especially those 3, 4, 5-foot putts. Because if you're trying to get better, these putts matter. Not because you're supposed to make every one, but because you don't want to fear them. You don't want to stand over a 4-foot putt thinking, please go in. You want to stand over it thinking, I know what I'm doing. I know what I want to do. That's the difference. So here's a simple practice routine. Take 3 balls, put them about 3 feet from the hole, make all 3. Then move back to maybe 4 feet, make all 3. Then 5 feet, make all 3, and keep going. If you miss, don't get angry. Start paying attention. Did you push it? Did you pull it? Did you leave it short? Did you hit it too hard? You're building awareness. You're learning your miss, and that's incredibly valuable. When you do this, if you miss, start back at the beginning. The fourth secret, don't turn one bad putt into 3. This might be the biggest scoring lesson in the entire video. Avoid the 3-putt. Now, I'm not saying never 3-putt. It's going to happen. That's unrealistic. If you're a beginner, you're going to 3-putt sometimes. That's golf. But you can dramatically reduce how often it happens by changing your goal on longer putts. Let's say you're 35 feet away. Your first thought shouldn't be, I'm going to make this. Your first thought should be, let's get it close. That's it. Give yourself a realistic landing zone. Maybe you're trying to get the ball inside a 3 or 4 foot circle around the hole. Now you've changed the objective. You're not trying to make a miracle. You're trying to eliminate the disaster. And that's exactly the kind of thinking that helps beginners score better. Use your ladder drill, putter gapping. That'll help you get those distances down. The 5-foot circle, here's a concept I really want you to start using. Think of the hole as having a circle around it. Your goal on longer putts is to get the ball inside that circle. You can make the circle bigger or smaller depending on your skill level. Maybe for you it's 4 feet, maybe it's 5. That's okay. The important thing is changing the definition of success. Instead of make the putt, it's get the ball close enough that the next putt is manageable. That's a much more realistic goal. And once you start doing that, your putting becomes less stressful. You don't need to make the 30-footer. You need to leave yourself a reasonable second putt. That's how you start eliminating wasted strokes. The 5th secret, putt to a spot, not just the hole. This is where we bring everything together. When you stand over a putt, don't just stare at the hole. Pick your starting line, pick your speed, and then commit. Because one of the worst things you can do is stand over the ball, make a decision, then change your mind. If you do that, back off. You aim left. Then you think, maybe it's actually straight. Change your stance. Then you think, maybe I should hit it harder. Then you change your stroke. And eventually, you've completely lost your original plan. So here's what I want. Read it, choose it, commit to it, and then hit the putt. You're going to miss sometimes. That's okay. But you're learning to trust your decision, and that's a skill. Your putter doesn't need to be perfect. Let's talk equipment for a second, because golfers can get really caught up in putters. Blade, mallet, face balanced, toe hang, different grips, different lengths, different inserts. And there's absolutely a place for equipment fitting and finding a putter that works for you. But if you're new or trying to get better or learning, I don't want you thinking, if I just buy the right putter, I'll become a great putter. Because the putter isn't going to read the green for you. It isn't going to choose the speed for you. It isn't going to make you commit to a line. And it isn't going to stop you from 3-putting if your distance control sucks. The goal isn't to find a magic putter. The goal is to become more comfortable with the putter you have. I used the same $60 Sports Authority putter all through high school and until last year. I decided to upgrade to the Odyssey Jailbird AI1 Cruiser because that's what I wanted. That fit my putting style. But you shouldn't think about doing that until you're ready for it. Your putting stroke doesn't need to look perfect. That's another trap. You watch professional golfers and their putting strokes look incredibly smooth, at least for most of them. Then you look at yours and think, mine does not look like that. That's okay. Your putting stroke doesn't need to look like anybody else's. You need a stroke that allows you to start the ball where you intend, control the speed, and repeat the motion. That's the goal. You do have to have some good mechanics, but don't get obsessed with whether your stroke looks perfect. Ask, does it work? Can you start the ball on line? Can you control distance? Can you repeat it? If the answer is yes, you're making progress. The distance control drill. Now, we talked about my drill before, but let's build a simple practice drill that you can actually take to the putting green. You don't need 100 balls. You don't need an hour. Take 5 balls, start 10 feet from the hole. Hit 5 putts. Here's the rule. You're not counting makes. You're paying attention to distance. How many inside a reasonable circle? Then move to 20 feet, 5 more. Then 30 feet, 5 more. Now you're learning something. You're learning, what does a 10-foot stroke feel like? What does a 20-foot stroke feel like? What does a 30-foot stroke feel like? And that's your putting distance profile. Remember the distance profile from earlier in the series? We talked about knowing your reliable distances. Putting has the same concept. You're building a library of feels, not exact numbers, feels. Because when you get on the course, you don't want every putt to feel completely foreign. You have to have references. Now, you might have noticed this is a lot like my ladder drill or putter gapping. The difference is we're talking about feel now. Now, here's the secret. Obviously, you can't bring a yardstick out onto the course. They're not going to let you. Once I get locked in with my yardstick and know my distances, everything's by feel. You might be able to pick up different things on your putter. I have a mallet, so I can tell the different distances between the different colors. But you're really going by feel. So what we just talked about and the ladder drill or putter gapping are basically the same thing. The random putting drill. Now let's make it harder because there's a difference between practicing and actually playing. On the putting green, it's easy to hit the same putt 20 times. You miss, you try again, you miss, you try again. Eventually you make it and you think, okay, I'm getting better. Maybe. But golf doesn't give you 20 chances on the green when you're playing. You get one. So here's a better drill. Pick a random hole, pick a random distance, hit one putt, then move somewhere else. Now go through your whole routine, step it out, check the break, but change the hole. Different distance, different break, different direction. Now you're practicing decision making, you're practicing reading, you're practicing speed, and you're practicing commitment. That's much closer to what you're actually going to experience out on the course. The biggest beginner putting mistake, if I had to pick one mistake I see beginners make, it's this. They try to make the putt instead of trying to hit a good putt. Those sound like the same thing, but they're not. If you try to make the putt, you might get tentative, you might decelerate, you might manipulate the stroke, you might hit it too hard. You might stare at the hole instead of focusing on your line. But if your goal is started on my line with good speed, you have a much clearer job. And that's what I want you to take to the course. Don't make the hole bigger in your mind. Make the task smaller. Read it. Pick the line. Pick the speed. Make the stroke. Accept the result. Then move on. Putting is another part of your recovery system. This connects directly to what we talked about in the last couple videos. Your short game is your recovery system, and putting is the final part of that system. You hit a bad drive, you recover. You hit a bad approach, you recover. You miss the green, you recover. You chip onto the green, and now you need to finish. That's putting. And this is why I don't want you thinking about putting as some isolated skill. It's the final step in your scoring process. You don't need to hit perfect golf shots. You need to be able to finish imperfect holes. That's the game we're building throughout this series, the learning putting ladder. So here's a progression I want you to think about. There are levels to this one. Level 1, stop wasting strokes. Avoid 3 putts as much as you can. Get the ball reasonably close. Don't turn a manageable putt into disaster. Level 2, control your distance. Start learning what different distances feel like. Level 3, start the ball on line. Develop a repeatable starting direction. Level 4, read the green. Understand the slopes. Understand the speed. Understand what break is. Level 5, become confident inside your scoring range. Now you're not just hoping. You're making a plan, you're committing, you're executing, and eventually you start making more putts. But don't skip through the levels. If you're constantly 3-putting, you don't need to spend all your time worrying about making 20-foot birdie putts. Fix the 3 putts first. Build the foundation. Stop chasing birdies. Here's something I want beginners to hear. You don't need to make more birdies to get better at golf. You need to make fewer unnecessary bogeys. That might sound boring, but it's incredibly important. Let's say you hit a great drive, you hit an okay approach, you miss the green. You chip on. You're 15 feet away. You don't need to make that putt for the round to be successful. You need to avoid turning it into a 3-putt. That's the mindset. You're constantly looking for ways to stop giving strokes away. And that's why putting can be such a powerful part of your game, because there's so many small decisions and small improvements that can all add up. Your 20-minute beginner putting practice. So if you're wondering, okay, what should I actually practice? Here's what I do. Give me 20 minutes. That's it. The first 5 minutes, short putts, 3 to 5 feet. Focus on starting the ball on line. Don't rush, build confidence. Your next 5 minutes, work on distance control from 5, 10, 20, 30 feet. Go all over the place. Focus on speed, not makes. Your next 5 minutes, Do random putts like we talked about before. Different holes, different distances, different breaks. One ball, no do-overs. In the final 5 minutes, work on pressure putts. Pick a short distance, make 3 in a row, then move back. If you miss, start again. Oh, we talked about that before. Now you're practicing confidence, and that's a completely different type of practice. The putting challenge. And here's your challenge for the next time you practice. I want you to do something really simple. Take 10 putts from around 20 feet. Don't worry about how many you make. Count how many finish inside your chosen circle. Maybe that's 3 feet. Maybe it's 5 feet. Then make 10 putts from 5 feet. Count how many you make. Now you've got 2 numbers. Your distance control number and your short putt number. Write them down. Then come back next week and try it again. Now you're not just saying, I think I'm getting better. You're measuring something, and that's how you start building confidence. The biggest mental shift, but ultimately, I think the biggest improvement you can make in putting isn't technical. It's up here. It's mental. Stop thinking, I have to make this. Start thinking, I know what I'm trying to do. That's a huge difference. You don't have to control the outcome. You control the process. Read the putt. Pick the line. Pick the speed. Make the stroke. Accept what happens, then move on. We keep saying that. And when you start doing that, putting becomes less intimidating. You stop feeling like every missed putt means you're a bad golfer. You start seeing putting as another skill you can develop, and that's when you can actually start enjoying it. Putting can change your expectations. Let's bring this back to the bigger goal of the series. We're not trying to turn you into a professional golfer. We're not trying to make you hit every fairway. We're not trying to make every approach perfect. We're trying to help you become a better golfer. And a better golfer isn't somebody who never makes mistakes. A better golfer is somebody who makes fewer mistakes, recovers better, makes smarter decisions, and wastes fewer strokes. Putting fits directly into that because if you can hit a great drive, hit a great approach, and still give away 2 or 3 strokes on the green, or you can hit a mediocre drive, miss the green, chip on, and 2-putt. Same game, different score. That's why putting matters. Your putting game plan. So if you're a beginner, here's the game plan. Don't obsess over perfection. Instead, learn distance control. Learn to start the ball online. Learn to read basic slopes. Get comfortable with the short putts. Reduce 3 putts. And learn to commit to your decision. That's enough. You don't need 25 putting drills. You don't need a complicated routine. You don't need to rebuild your entire stroke. You need a few fundamentals and enough practice to trust them because confidence doesn't come from telling yourself, I'm a good putter. Confidence comes from, I've done this before. That's what we're trying to build. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this. You don't need to make every putt to become a better putter. You need to stop giving away unnecessary strokes. You need to control your distances. You need to start the ball online. You need to make the short putts you should make. And you need to stop turning 1 bad putt into 3. Because that's where beginners can start seeing real improvement. And here's the bigger lesson. Golf isn't about hitting perfect shots. It's about putting together enough good decisions, good shots, and good recoveries to finish the hole. That's what we've been building throughout this series. You don't need a perfect swing. You need a game that can handle imperfect golf. You need to know how far you actually hit your clubs. You need to know how to recover. You need to know how to manage the short game. And now you need to know how to finish. That's putting. And once you start looking at it that way, you might actually start enjoying it because instead of standing over a putt thinking, I hope this goes in, you're going to start thinking, okay, I know what I'm trying to do. Read it, pick the line, pick the speed, make the stroke, and give yourself a chance. That's all you need. And if you can do that, you're going to start seeing something really interesting happen. You're going to hit a bad shot, and instead of thinking, there goes the hole, you're going to think, I still have a chance. And that is when golf gets incredibly fun. If you missed the first few videos in the series, check them out. We're walking through 5 ways to get better at golf, step by step. And the goal isn't to overwhelm you with complicated golf instruction. It's to help you build a game that actually works on the course. So check out the playlist that's popping up now. It's definitely something you can binge on, especially if you're trying to get better this year. I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. What's the hardest part of putting for you? Is it distance control, short putts, reading the greens, 3-putting, or just getting comfortable over the ball? Let me know. We're going to be looking at your questions. I always check out the comments and working on answering them on our next live. Make sure you subscribe because we're building this together. Our goal in 2026 is simple: play better, have more fun, and love the game again. See you next time.